All right, welcome to the latest episode of the Colman Power Organic Fitness Podcast. This podcast is being recorded from the USA. Those of you that don't currently know right now, it'll probably be out in a couple of weeks, and I might even be home at that stage. But I have my latest guest here in front of me. We have the one, the only, the James Crowley, based most certainly down in West Cork, a good friend of mine, and most certainly James. Say hello to the listeners.
Hello, everyone. It is a massive honor to be here on the Colman Power Organic Fitness podcast. And this is actually a podcast I listen to regularly as well, either on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And and as Colman said, we've been friends for a good while, and it's such an honor to be here on Zoom, because before we used to hang out nearly every single day when we used to work in the same gym before. What's that, maybe 3 years ago, 3 years ago, before Colman
James,
decided
it's longer
to
than that. It's
head up
longer
north.
than that. And I was just going to give us, a brief background. Yourself and James used to live in the same village, and actually previous to that, used to do a little bit of work in polytunnels together when I was renting lands down in most certainly the likes of Inishannon and West Cork. And then we first probably met in the likes of the BFit Jam band and gym. And after that, we just became good friends, and ever since been in touch. James, I'd say, man, that is probably about 4 years ago now. Would you believe it? Since I was living down there. Isn't that amazing?
That's crazy, man. And I suppose there's been so much has happened.
Yeah, so much is happening. You see,
Those 4 years,
yeah, it's absolutely.
And do you know what's so interesting? Something I was thinking about as well before we had, when you'd mentioned about going on the podcast, when we were in Beefit, when you came in, you're always that high, super high energy, just crazy, fucking flowing with energy everywhere. You were like that. People almost thought you were crazy. They almost thought, what's wrong with this guy? He's just got so much energy. He's singing, he's dancing, he's juggling his apples and his bananas, he's buzzing to go training. And something I thought of that as well is you always had a different energy, and at work when you came into Beefit, there was always a different vibe and a different aura there. And other people used to think that was crazy, but for me, we bonded and we got on really, really well, and we were able to have that kind of stupid crack, as you could say, and just have the banter. And something I've kind of realized as well over the last couple of years as well is Joe, a lot of people had thought you were crazy, but I realized that you were just, what I've realized now is that you're hanging around, or you're kind of surrounding with the wrong people. And the same with me, that's something I've really learned as well over the last kind of couple of years, is that if people think that you're kind of crazy, or you're, oh, what's wrong with that guy? It just means you're hanging around with the wrong people. They just don't have the same energy as you. So that's something I noticed as well from you, from being in Beefit, people who would say oh, he's crazy. What's up with him? But I just realized is just he's a guy with a different energy, and do you know what I mean? And one that I was kind of really resonated with and got on with, so that's why I think we got on so well when we were in Beefit, so hopefully that makes sense.
And you're so right in even bringing that up. You see, some people might know me as that high energy person. They may only listen to the podcast, or they may only follow me on TikTok and say, God, he's just very funny. And they may only watch maybe the snippets of different Facebook posts that I put up. And most certainly you'd be one person to definitely see the inside out, the outside in, and everything else in between, because I was physically with you in person, and we were good friends because of that. And you have to most certainly find people that resonate with your type of energy and with your likes and with your wants. And it's about finding your tribe. And I kind of brought you on, I suppose, just on this podcast to do kind of an impromptu kind of Q&A. Just telling people, I suppose, maybe you might be able to try out a couple of things that I haven't maybe mentioned before on the likes of this podcast or different social media posts. And I know you just open up the floor to yourself to ask me any question about fitness, food, nutrition, and we'll make it humorous as we go along. There was no doubt with me being involved in it.
So I get to absolutely slate you. Is this a free pass? You're saying so?
Very few people will get this, James. Very few people.
So we were just on a WhatsApp call before this, and a question I wanted to ask you now was for the people, as you said, this is a Q&A, so I get to ask you anything now. I suppose for the people that would say wouldn't know you and just kind of seeing some of your stuff, probably just listening to your podcast, I suppose, what's a way of you, I suppose, how would you describe the person that you are to them?
So if I was to describe maybe to people who know very little about me, or would like, I suppose, a better description of who I am, I would probably compare, and have been mentioned so many different times, with the curly hair that's coming into season right now, with the hot temperatures and the blonde tips in it, a bit like Joe Wicks. And then if Joe Wicks had a baby with either one or two of the likes of the happy pair, that'd kind of be me in a nutshell. Home workouts, high energy, most certainly. I wouldn't say, by goodness, anywhere near vegan, but most certainly cooked with love. And that is definitely me. And I'd be their love child, if anything, that would resemble with the listeners or the viewers of this podcast, James. I would definitely put me down as that.
What a brilliant description. Joe Wicks and happy pair had a baby. Homegrown, organic grown, no chemicals used in the production or in the rearing of Colman power. I love it.
Classics.
Yeah, and I suppose like Joe, when we were like, I suppose when I met you, so 4 years ago, we were in Cork, and I suppose like back then as well, like you were working in the farm in Shannon, like you had a lot of polytunnels there, a lot of organic produce there, and I suppose you were working in the gym as well. Like I seen you in and out of the gym, you're doing PTs with clients, in-person sessions with clients, used to be training, like you used to come in with we used to make a joke, like your MacGyver pants, because you see Colman had these, I suppose they're Snicker workwear pants. Like all construction lads would have them, like my brothers all wear these type of pants, but they're just filled with all the tools, all the gear, everything you need. Coleman had them inside the pockets, nails, screws. So that's like, if you've ever seen MacGyver, it's like he had every single thing you needed in his pockets. So that's how Coleman got christened, or those pants that Coleman used to wear were the MacGyver pants, because he could pull anything out of them. But I suppose, yeah, like back then, what were you doing back then? So, because like you were doing PTs, you were farming, and you had a lot of other gigs going on as well. So I suppose back then, what were you doing, and where did that take you?
I suppose, yeah, I would have started off, I suppose, in doing personal training in the likes of band, and then kind of was just lucky enough to get mentors and coaches, which I'd be a firm believer in. And me and James had a chat before this, and actually getting coaches, right? They don't have to be paid necessarily if you're most certainly short on income. But the thing about it is, when you do get a coach that you really pay or are part of, it really does bring you exactly from where you are to where you want to be. And like, I can be an extremely humorous fella, but I do have a serious point of view with people when I chat to them. The point is, right, if you want to be the best version of yourself, you really need to get help. And I mean, most certainly tips for helping you get to the place and the person you want to be. Like before I met James, when I started down in West Cork, I wouldn't even have had a personal training course done. I've always would have been physically fit. I've a massive GA background, and I suppose the starting point would have been that I would have struggled in school. I had very few friends. I would have hung around with the GA lads, but couldn't get on the sports teams. I didn't have enough skill. What I lacked in most certainly skill, I made up in hard work and effort. I never missed a training session. It could have been absolutely spilling rain, and I would have most certainly said, I'm definitely going to training. She's like, yeah, sure. You don't have to go training. I was like, I'm definitely going. I want to get on the team. And that most certainly drive and determination has never left me. And there's that, I suppose, one clear example that I most certainly spent 5 years in, obviously 6 years in secondary school. And for 5 of those years, I went to every training session, went to every match. I never got 1 minute. Up to the 5th year, I went to a friendly game, and 2 of the corner forwards literally had injuries with their fingers. Whether it was I think someone sprained their finger, the other person got a bad bang, and I was lucky enough then to be literally the 3rd sub that was able to get called in. And literally, I never got a minute. Not in 1st year, not in 2nd year, not in 3rd year, not in 4th year. And then in 5th year, that was the semi-final. It was a freak accident. I came on. I was lucky enough to tip in a goal, got 1 goal, and then most certainly got a point, which was a kind of major fluke. And I wasn't even great at striking the ball. My skill level was poor, but again, my determination, you never would have bet me. People were talking about terriers and things like that. I was more vicious than a terrier. You would never like to mark me like. And the point then after that was, for my first game that I ever played for the school in Waterford, MacThomas, St. Declan's, I started a Munster final. And I was so goddamn nervous. I had everything absolutely packed inside the bag. I had the boots on the left with the Vaseline to make me most certainly not leave any muck stuck to the boots. I had the tape there on the side to wrap around most certainly the laces so they wouldn't open, so I'd have to wouldn't waste a second of the game. I had literally my hurley through the helmet, you name it. The shorts were folded, the socks were tucked into one of the left boots, and the other one was in the right boot. Literally got to the game. Literally, I was just sweating as they named. I couldn't nearly believe it as they named out. Like I was number 15, so named number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 13 to 14 and 15. Colman power already called out. I said, I cannot believe this. put on my jersey, 15, hanging up,
Love it.
putting on my back. And I'd say within the first 5 minutes, the ball came in and I fell over. I fell over the ball. I was so absolutely bricking it. And what ended up happening then after that was, I'd say about 20 minutes later, I just knew them talking on the sideline. I was like, Jesus Christ, I better do something now with this next ball that comes in. Anyway, a big massive looper comes in from midfield. Next thing, we're in the Munster final. Keeper bats it out. I literally just get the weirdest fluke that keeper was expecting an absolute melter coming at him. He fell to the ground, ball trickle in. I felt like John Milan. Oh my God. Those who don't know John Milan, he's an absolute legend of a man in Waterford. He's literally just a pure passion of a hurler in the 2000s. He just went up to the crowd, which I thought was thousands. There probably would have been 25, maybe 50 people there in total. I literally could not believe that I had scored a goal in a Munster final, right? And to people, that's absolutely nothing. But I'm going to tell you, I am actually an underdog. And people are looking or listening to this right now and would say, underdog, Colman, you've written a book. Colman, you have online programs. You do grow your own. You're a public speaker. You're going into schools. You're setting up veg patches. You're growing orchards with people. Yeah, but I'm telling you right now, if you're listening to this now, I'm actually only beginning. And I really do enjoy what I do, which is important. And I suppose, James, that might be a long way of answering your question. Where did I start off? And that's kind of where I got it from. Starting off with that whole determination that I was the underdog, and underdog has to always work his hardest to get anywhere in life.
That is incredible. Brilliant answer, honestly. And just listening to that, it almost like resonated with me, because the way you put it back to that, like that one kind of big game or that one pivotal moment when you got picked for the team after all of your hard work. And like it was even like I was thinking back to the game when I was when we were in a county championship, scored a pivotal goal. One of our guys was sent off. One of our main players was off. We were down a couple of points. Scored a pivotal goal, and we ended up winning the county final as a result. And that was a big point in terms of like sport and just believing in myself almost. Because I was always kind of that player, kept tipping around, or kept training, kept showing up. But it was kind of that moment that kind of changed the belief, and was like, wow, I can actually sort of drive on and be something better. And it's really interesting that you're able to pinpoint that moment. Like, and I suppose something else you kind of mentioned in there as well, like you got to kind of find those people that are doing better than you, like mentors, coaches, and you got to like, okay, how can I go to them and learn what they've learned? And something that I always kind of pushed and advice to people as well is like, what do you want to achieve? Who has done that, and who's achieved that goal and who's currently living that life? And you got to go to them and like ask them for help. And they're usually like mentors or coaches, so find someone who's done it, who's living the life. So like yourself, someone who wants to be fit, who wants to be healthy. Like for me, even like I read your book recently, really, really informative, really, really valuable. And something I noticed as well is it was really easy to read. It was a really simple read, and it was, like, there's a lot of books out there and a lot of like courses that can be very high level, like complicated words and everything. But this was just really easy to read. Like everyone could understand it and take it and use it. Which, so like for me, like to learn more about organic and improve my health, like I was reading your book, I go to you. Coleman's smarter than me. He's better than me. He's healthier than me. So it's obviously a no-brainer for me to learn from you. If that makes sense. So I think it's great. That's something you mentioned as well. So I suppose like your determination now and your drive and your grit, how has that served you now over the last 10, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, I suppose you really do need to want something to gain the advantage of it. For the majority of these listeners, most people want to be healthier. Most people want to lose weight, and you really have to have that. So one of the first things that I'd actually get people to do, I'd ask them in, I suppose, a call, say, what is it you're exactly looking for? And if they most certainly are clearly able to say to me that I want to most certainly look and feel my best for not only me, but also my family, I know, yes, that's the exact person that I can help. Why? Because it's not only for them, they want to be role models for somebody else. Their role models may be their nieces, their nephews, their role models may be their kids. And when you do something not only for you, you have to work a hell of a lot harder, and it makes it that little bit easier on the days that it's tough. Right? Because it's not easy to get those 10,000 steps. It's not easy to cook those meals from scratch, which I literally just after eating, as I chatted to James before we started. And it's not easy to get up on the days it's piss and rain and you've low energy levels, or you didn't have a great night's sleep, or somebody said something to you in work, and you're like, I just don't feel like doing it today. You have to remember that key thing, why you actually want something. And if you have a clear enough why, you will do absolutely anything, right? Because most certainly you will achieve whatever it is if you know why you want to do it. Okay, and that's definitely one of the things that I'm clear on. I have a goals board, and that's what really started me off. I had a mentor who said, get your ass a goals board. Doesn't matter, Colman, you being dyslexic, spell all the words wrong, backwards, any way you like. Just put a clear image you can draw. Most certainly pictures on it too. And looking back, and I can't remember if I ever mentioned this before in the podcast, I would have, on the first day that I got that book, after I got that whiteboard, I would have drew a book on the top right-hand corner of that, where I'd stick the ball if I had it in a net. But yeah, I drew a book, top right corner. Like, visualization is absolutely massive. Some people say, oh, Corbin, that's a bit woo-woo with your curly hair. The idea of manifestation, you don't have to use that word. Just say goal setting. Just call it whatever you goddamn like. The thing about it is, if you can see it, you can believe it, it's going to happen.
I totally agree with you. And I was actually chatting with someone a couple of days ago about, like, I was looking back and reflecting, and like I'm someone who writes goals down. I don't actually have a board. I write them down. I remember looking back on goals I wrote down when I was like 17, 18, like I'm 22 now, and like a lot of those goals I had written down, I had achieved them very quickly. Like, I had goals that things I wanted to achieve before 21, before 20. And I look back, I was like, man, I achieved those in a much quicker time frame than I had expected. And it was just from a matter of just writing them down and being, just looking over, well, not constantly, just looking back on them every couple of months. And like, once you just write them down, it's almost like a promise you're making to yourself. And then, like, do you know what I mean? As you go about your life, then like you go about achieving those goals. Like, so I think I love what you said there about just having that board and just writing it down. Like, because a lot of people have ideas in their heads. I want to do this, I want to do that. Write it down on a piece of paper, get it on that vision board like Colman does, and before you know it, it's going to come true.
Definitely.
And like something you mentioned there, like you're talking about your why, and I suppose like there was a lot of like myths, like misconceptions as well in the health and fitness, and like something that you something that you're big on is just sticking to doing the basics well. I think there's a lot of posts you've said, and like, is just doing the basic things right over and over, constantly and consistently, like your morning routine, eating well, training hard, and just being healthy. So like, I suppose, yeah, what are some misconceptions that you see all of the time, and some things that kind of almost piss you off in we'll say the health and fitness industry?
Yeah, great question. Great question. Definitely the major thing is that I don't have time, and we all have the same amount of time. Like, whether you have a couple of children that you're looking after, you have an extremely hectic job and work, I suppose, that needs to be done on a daily basis. Sometimes people are working the weekends. If you don't have 20 minutes to yourself in the morning to get in some form of, I'm going to say, workout, followed by a day of the week that you can meal prep. And the simplest meal preps that I do recommend to people is roasting a full chicken, boil an absolute mountain of rice, or sweet potato, or whatever you would goddamn like carbohydrate wise. And you can add healthy fats to that. If you would, most simplest one is nuts, whether it's hemp seeds or complete protein,
Yeah.
and or any spices that you like the taste of. Black pepper, chili, like that one happened to be organic. How amazing is that? Just beautiful stuff. Garlic powder, pink Himalayan salt, natural electrolytes. Like, don't make excuses. Make time for you. And the idea of the 20 minutes done and dusted before any of those kids get up, before anyone else can take that most certainly valuable time away from you. Because time is one thing you cannot get back in life. And that was passed on to me again from other mentors that I've had in the past, and using it so wisely. So if you're looking to improve on your, I suppose, overall physical shape, it has to come down to your foods. We eat 3 main meals a day. Some people say we should eat in a certain amount of window. I don't give a damn about what time you start eating your breakfast at. I just want you to eat clean, single ingredient foods. Intermittent fasting, call it whatever you like. Skipping breakfast, not eating as soon as you get up in the morning, that whatever. And there are benefits to that, and I've literally done separate podcasts on the benefits of it. Improve cognitive function, which is great. But if you don't understand foods that you need to have proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, and most certainly from single ingredient foods that you can cook, that you know that when I have someone who signs up to the program, they get a meal plan. They pick out the foods that they want. They pick out, oh yeah, oats. I eat porridge, yeah. But I don't really like porridge on its own. What can I do with it? You can make overnight oats. You can even have savory oats with the likes of, I have some people eating it with spinach. I have some people eating with kale. And then when nettles were in season, people are like, what? Nettles? They're high in iron. They're going to give you more energy. So it's about literally eating foods that you literally like, getting ideas from people that can help you and point you in the right direction, but most certainly having a blueprint of your day. So this is one of the things I would highly recommend to everybody, including yourself, James, writing down what time you get up at if you don't do this already. Write down what you do first thing in the morning, whether it's a workout, whether it's a stretching routine, whether it's your meal prep, or having it all ready for yourself the next day. Okay, planning out your day is one of the most important things, because doing things at random gets you the most random results you'll ever get. Okay, and it'll leave you open to doing anything. Okay, you have to have structure, right? Even as a fellow who loves to do things off the bat, there is structure to my day. 100%. I will eat 3 regular meals. I will train before one of those in the day, whether it's in the morning or it's before my lunch or it's in the evening. I will unwind and do some form of stretching in the evening. And I most certainly have a sister now that has 2 lovely children, and there's periods of time throughout the week that I want to spend with them as well. Okay, and there's some people have seen that. I even changed nappies, lads. I'm like, I can do anything. Oh my God. And that's a job and a half. But that's the whole thing about it. I do have structure, and you must too. The key point is knowing what has to be done in a day, followed by putting that into action. Okay, it's the idea of your thoughts put down on a page, gives you that, I suppose, full circle. It goes from up here to down there to back into your eyes and into your brain again. So that is the whole realization of whether it's your goals, whether it's your lining out, you're planning your day ahead. It's knowing what to do and then go ahead and doing it. Because if you don't know what to do, you'll do anything. And anything doesn't lead to a specific result, whether it's you looking better, or it's you feeling better, and most certainly looking your best.
Absolutely. Love that. Yeah. That's spot on. And like something I really, really push as well is like having structure in your days. Like you don't have to plan every single minute of your day out. It's just blocking in, your morning when you get your training sessions in, blocking in your main events for the day. And like I'm a big believer as well on just planning your week out. Like I sit down on a Saturday or a Sunday and I look at I use Google Calendar. Just look at my Google Calendar, put in the events, what training, like when I'm working, when am I meeting people, put all these things into your calendar, and you can clearly see, when you're working, what time you have available. And there's actually been a lot of clients I've had now who've actually started planning their weeks out, planning their days, and they're like, yeah, I actually have a lot more time than I expected. And these are people who told me, is like, oh, do you know what I mean? I have no time to do this, no time to do that. It's just a matter of, it's all a choice, isn't it? Like I was listening to a training from one of my mentors, and like he was even saying, like, being in great shape is a choice. Being overweight and, not caring about your health and your fitness is a choice. Everything you do in life is a choice. And it's all about just making the right choices, as you say, Colman, isn't it? And I suppose something you said there as well, like something you mentioned, is like you got to be doing the right things. And I suppose like for people now that don't know exactly what to be doing, what are the 3 to 5 main things that people need to focus on? Like I know now you work with men and women, they're kind of predominantly in their 20s, 30s, 40s, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it would.
So like for the people that are listening to this podcast, I suppose, what are the 3 to 5 most important things that they need to be doing like on a regular basis in terms of further health and fitness to be the best version of themselves?
If I was to tell people the first thing you can possibly do to gain massive advantage is get outside, right? Get outside and start walking. You are outside in fresh air. The sunlight indicates the likes of your circadian rhythm, which is a massive knock on to your sleep. When you sleep better, you have much better food choices. I feel like you write the book on this one, James. Yeah, so definitely right. So the first one. So when you're outside, right, you're getting in exercise, and exercise is so important. You literally remember that walking is the minimum requirement. People, when you listen to this, write it down, get a tattoo of it. It is so simple to get 10,000 steps. Walking's free, right? Whether you're my 2-year-old niece or you're my 96-year-old granny, movement is so important. You can use up between 300 and 500 calories by just walking alone. That costs you nothing. If you never signed up to another gym program in your life, and got 10,000 steps, you would stay in a hell of a lot better shape than the person who didn't. So outside, steps in sunlight is so important, right? Then we'll move on to the main benefit of that being your sleep. your sleep is key. When you are and do have better, I suppose, sleep, you are able to control your hunger hormones. Okay, your hunger hormones, the two main ones are leptin and ghrelin. Right? How you remember that, or I remember it more so, is grr sounds like hungry, so that's your hunger hormone. Leptin is the other one. So grr, Ellen goes up when you get a poor night's sleep. Or when you're on the phone looking at James and myself going, Jesus, isn't that great? Isn't it? Always scroll on there, someone else. Or a cat jumping off a building into a pool. Fair play to him. That's a funny one. Stop watching those stupid videos that don't give you any advantage. Listen to a book. Listen to a podcast. And that will literally help you to improve. Like, I'm going to say, when I was writing that book, I actually had a routine that had so many different little benefits in it, starting from 5:30, and I was doing it at 5 o'clock, and that's very early. I'm never going to do that again, I don't think. Hopefully not, because I just don't think I can fit it in. So sleep is so important. So sleep is the next one. Definitely then is cooking your meals from scratch. If you're not cooking your meals from scratch, you don't know what's in it. Take control of your meals. Breakfast. And I have no problem with people working. I work from home, but also do events and do travel to different countries. Exhibit A, New York, and most certainly Florida for the next event. And where to then, we'll see. Stay tuned. So the next thing I would definitely go in is cooking a breakfast. If you have to most certainly have a lunch in work, that'd be great if you had last night's dinner, next day's lunch. All right, minus the carbs is what I would do. So let's say I made a minced stir fry up there for most certainly my dinner. Okay, the next day, with that meal, I might have sweet potato, white potato, and white potatoes are lovely because they don't certainly have any different calories depending on the white. It's just different antioxidants. So the next thing is that I would recommend you is bringing that into most certainly lunch, your lunch into work next day, and you're reheating it in a microwave or having a cold with some spice. It just gives it a different flavor. That's your lunch sorted. You know what's in it, as opposed to going down to the deli or to the shop and literally seeing, oh yeah, I'll have a white roll. I'll put in some chicken that from the deli probably wouldn't really even be chicken or categorized as something that would be decent for you to improve on your health. And then you're at the counter and you say, oh God, what's that up there? Oh, that looks lovely. Yeah, it's a chocolate bar. I'm going to have one of them. And you know what? You don't get one, you get two. And you say you'll have one the next day. But whoever, you get to the car and it's the first thing you eat before even you have anything else. And that's not helping you. So don't go to slippy places if you don't want to most certainly slip down the slide. That is definitely the next thing. So sleep is the next thing. In on top of that, we went on to cooking your foods. That's the third. And the fourth would definitely be some form of exercise. You've got to do some exercise, okay? And then we can lean towards most certainly people looking to gain the advantage of toning up, which a lot of people use. That just means you are using added weights, whether it's 3 kg dumbbells, which you can get in great shape at home. I'm going to pick up these ones because they're red, my favorite color. Most certainly weight training. And if you do enough of them, most certainly squats with a 3 kg dumbbell. If you had 2 of them, that's 6 kg. And if you're listening to this and it's in pounds, use converters because I'm bad with letters and as well as that numbers too. So that's the second thing. Weight training gives you so much advantage. Like body weight is a great way to start off, and then you escalate. You most certainly in a couple of weeks should be on to the likes of your compound movements with 2 sets of dumbbells. You're squatting, you're curling, you're pressing. This is a movement that I would use in nearly all, except for anyone who's having injuries with maybe different joints in my programs. Why? Because it hits your legs, the largest muscle group of your body. You're toning the arms, whether you're a man, a male, or a female. Everybody loves sexy toned arms. Then you're using your shoulders, which are connected to your arms, which is another great way to look good in a dress for both male, well, some males may want to wear dresses, and or females. The whole thing about it is using added weights will give you such more bang for your buck. And then doing some form of cardio at the end, whether that's going for a little bit of a jog that people are trying to get up to a 5K, or if someone wanted to do maybe a high intensity finisher, whether that's using, again, jumping jacks, touch squats, it might be doing a little bit of core workout if you want to tone up that midsection. All the time, you literally will gain massive advantage from, I suppose, exercise, whether it's the likes of the home workouts, or some people that I would coach would inevitably progress onto the likes of a gym. And if you're going on your holidays when you're listening to this, you can do a bit of a great workout in a home, I suppose, a hotel gym. Again, the same workouts you're doing at home, you can most certainly bang out when you are in a gym or wherever you may want to go to work out. And the fifth thing then is definitely, most certainly, either grow your own or buy it. That's the massive, I suppose, emphasis and the difference between myself and anyone else that would be on social media. Don't know why people don't recommend it a hell of a lot more, James. It's kind of crazy. The idea is whether you grow your own or buy it, it's something you should definitely add to your diet. Like foods that are grown, I'm here in America, and the foods aren't half as good. And we're blessed in Ireland to actually have foods that come, I suppose, very close to certainly that gold standard of being grown in soil. Okay, and when you get that, you get higher nutrition, right? The idea that some people might debate and say, Colman, there's not higher nutrition. I have a study here to say that there's no scientific difference. And I say, you get a study to goddamn say anything, right? But I'm going to tell you, the taste is the difference, right? People, listeners will most certainly know whether you're eating kale, whether you're eating spinach, whether you're eating broccoli, whether you're eating tomatoes, which are literally unbelievable, or apples that are grown organically. I highly recommend you just to literally taste those foods and see for yourself, right? Your energy will go through the roof. And that's one of the many reasons why I have a hell of a lot more energy than everybody else. And people are literally hoping and wishing it's some supplement that I could just get and grab and literally show them and say, this is it, that magic supplement I have underneath the table. Here it is. It's actually real food. People would love to tell me it's that new XL double triple minus something glutamine tablet that you can take and you pop it in at night and you wake up like Superwoman or Superman. But that's not the case. The whole idea of it is you have to do the simple things. Those are the simple things, and some people mightn't find them sexy. But by God, if you did them, you would become a hell of a lot sexier.
Absolutely, exactly. And all the men become like Colman, energetic, hot, and buzzing all the time. But like even as you say, yeah, like I've learned massively from, I suppose, from you as well, and just from everything I've learned over the last couple of years. Like, you know, like something I was asking myself there a couple of days ago, and I actually posted on my social media, was like a lot of guys would ask you, oh, how do I get more energy? How can I improve my energy levels? And like I kind of switch it back. I'm like, okay, what foods can you eat that are going to give you more energy? And it's high quality, single ingredient foods, staying away from as much processed, refined foods because they're not going to provide any nutritional benefit. So it's like if you're trying to ask yourself, how can I have more energy? And a lot of people will turn to like energy drinks, sports drinks, coffee, thinking that these will give them the energy boost that they need, but not only going to crash in a couple of hours, and it affects your sleep massively. So you got to ask yourself a question: what foods can I eat, and what foods can I implement into my diet that are going to give me more energy? And it's going to be single ingredient foods, organic foods, foods that are grown local, as you said as well. Like, and that's something I've noticed as well. And that's something I've taken on myself is how can I improve the foods that I eat for more energy, feel better, improve skin, improve health, and that's been a massive turning point for me as well. So I suppose we have a few minutes left, I suppose. So there's just kind of one last thing kind of on you. I suppose like you're over in New York now, which is incredible. It looks like a beautiful place. And you've seen some I just seen your story a couple of hours ago. There were some plants growing outside on the streets, wasn't there? What was that? Courgettes. There was courgettes growing outside in New York, wasn't there? You were
It's
buzzing to see
amazing.
them.
You can literally, and again, I love this quote, and people can use it. And I've got it either from reading books or listening to books. All about being dyslexic, I listen to more books. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? So that person that's in here in the middle of New York is growing food in a tiny square patch that is located outside their front door. Okay, they are going to be as a courgette plant that they will be self-sufficient in courgette, zucchini, depending on what part of the country you're listening to this in right now, and they're high fiber, they're literally low calories, and they're so easy to add to anything. They bulk up and could be added to porridge. You can put them into stir fries, whether it's your lunch and or your dinner. I even make nut bars with them as well. Again, why? Because it's fiber. Fiber is keeping you fuller for longer. It's something that naturally improves your beneficial gut bacteria, okay, that feeds them. And 90% of your serotonin is produced in there. And when you see me, you'll say, Jesus, Colman, I wish I ate more courgettes. Do you know what I mean? It's you can grow so much food and gain advantage of it if you are willing to try. And that's the key thing about it. Every vitamin and mineral is found in the soil. And that's why people, James, are looking over at me, whether it's inside a gym complex or work space or out on the side of the street, and say, what in the name of God is he eating? I show people what I eat for breakfast. I show people what I eat for lunch. I show people what I eat for dinner. And then in, I suppose, the inside CPOF group, I show them my lifestyle, more so with my family orientated, more so what's going on in the background in relation to meals. Maybe they might not look perfect, or the days where I'm struggling a little bit more, because they see and most certainly would gain the advantage of seeing not everything is perfect. Social media is a highlight reel of everybody's, I suppose, platform. And that's what they most certainly will want you to see. But the thing about it is, there are most certainly days that Colman Power struggles. It is tough, and it's tough most certainly for James Crowley and everyone else too. The thing about it is, you just have to do your best. And that comes down to you deciding, okay, to make better food choices, to come out the other side of it, okay? Because you have to be the best version of yourself. And how do you do that? You literally put in all the energy you have towards making better food choices that have a knock-on effect to you exercising that little bit more.
Absolutely, yeah, no, I love that, and it's so true. That's something we spoke about as well before. I said, like, you were showing me your apartment, you know what I mean? It's behind the scenes, 4 laptops out, phones half full of battery, and things everywhere, you know. And that's behind the scenes almost. Like, what people see on social media is the highlight reel and is all the good stuff. And obviously, like, we like on Instagram and social media, we want to be able to provide as much value and, you know, help as many people as we can. Like, you know what I mean? So obviously, we got to showcase as much good stuff as we can to inspire, educate, and keep driving people on. But they don't realize, and they're doing that there is a lot of behind the scenes and stuff, tough days, and like tough days are inevitable. There's always going to be periods of time where it's going to be difficult. Do you know what I mean? So I love what you say there. Like, do you know what I mean? Colman Power, it's never linear and the perfect sunshine and rainbows, as they say. Like, there's always those down days. So I suppose, like, for you, Colman, now, what is next for you? Like, as I said, you're in New York right now. You're going to Florida for a retreat now, and you've had multiple, like, speaking events in Ireland, multiple retreats in Ireland that have looked incredible, and one that I'll be getting on very soon if you have them back in Ireland soon. And I suppose, what's next for you? What's in the pipeline? What's coming, and what's happening for you over the next couple of months?
We're most certainly going to finish up this retreat in the likes of Florida this weekend, so it'll be finished when this podcast comes out. But I'm just going to continue on doing what I have been doing. If you get me, more, I suppose, events such as meeting people all around the country, because I really, really do enjoy what I do, and I'm super grateful to have sort of a job and an income from all the things that I do. But it's like, I'm more than a one-trick pony. I have a pull out a hat and pull anything out of it, or even have a pair of Snickers shorts. I've upgraded myself from, as James after telling you, my MacGyver pants, and now it's MacGyver shorts. Still Snickers nonetheless. Pulling apples and retreats and events and nutrition and grow your own courses all around, I suppose, the country. And again, I mentioned this is actually not just me starting off, or sorry, this is not me at this point finishing. It's actually only me starting off. I'm going to most certainly do bigger events, and when I say lads, to most certainly stay tuned for more events around the country, and bigger and better, and bigger smiles and bigger groups is definitely what is going to happen in the near future. But James, I just want to say thanks so much. And if anyone isn't most certainly following James at this moment in time, go over to James Crowley, and he'll be tagged in this most certainly. And he's a good man. He's a fair head on his broad shoulders, and he's got bright, I suppose, future ahead of him. And I knew that the second I met him. And as we probably one evening we're pulling too many ragworts out of a field up in the Shannon, as we probably went and did a bit of a training session that evening too. But yeah, James, thanks so much for really taking the time and asking me those solid questions, as well as the comparison between Happy Pear and Joe Wicks.
Joe Wicks. Awesome. Stay classy. Thanks so much, buddy.
Oh, you're laughing. And I'll most certainly tag James's hashtags and most certainly links in the show notes for anybody who's looking to either contact him or just have a chat with him about what things that he does. And his event coming up very soon as well in Cork as well. If anyone's interested in that, I'll be also tagging that too. And I love to finish these shows, James, by saying stay tuned, stay classy, and keep it organic.